Hey, guys, it's Stephanie Sinclair here. And today we are starting on the faith series. I have been talking about this for the last week, and I promised when we hit 10,000 subscribers, I would drop the faith series. I don't know how many parts it's going to be. I'm going to try to do 3. And in the faith series, we are following this book, God Works Through Faith. Now, I did do a 3-part series on this over on my podcast. And the 3-part series only covered what is faith. But in this series, we are actually going to read through the book. You'll get my commentary, my insights as a metaphysicist, as well as a neuroscientist. And we're going to talk about what faith is, how faith works, and what faith does. And this is really important because we talk a lot about creation here and co-creation and manifesting. And this is a key piece of it. Regardless of what you believe, if you are in a space that you want to create anything in the world and you really want to tap into your true power, you want to stick with me. All right, guys, let's get in it. We are reading God Works Through Faith by Dr. Robert A. Russell. This is part 1. Do me a favor and share this with someone. I'm going to guarantee you, just from me doing a 3-part series on my podcast and so many people saying how it has changed their lives, I am going to guarantee you that this is going to change the lives of everyone it touches. Now, if you have a problem with the word God, this may be triggering with you, but if you have healed that part, if you are into God, if you recognize the God in you, if you are good with the word God, we are good to go. If not, you can say the word universe for all I care. But you want this information. All right, let's jump straight in. Just for a little bit of insight, this book was referred to me several years ago, probably about 4 years ago. And it took me quite a while to actually get it and start reading it. And I read this for the first time, I think, in 2020. Now I want to show you something. You see how my edges look, how worn it is? I've written all in this book. I don't know if you can tell. This book really will get you going and really shift everything you thought you knew about faith. So I'm not going to hold you up. We're going to read through this book. I am going to pause and give commentary when I get to a part that really gets me moving. And I hope you're ready. All right. So part 1 is, what is faith? Did you ever contemplate the things that happens through faith? Not the things that could happen or the things that might happen, but the things that do happen, the things that are happening right now. Where did faith come from? You are born with the characteristic of faith, for it is inherent in man. It's inherent in you. Protected from the moment of your conception, you emerged into the world with the expectation of continued security. It's important, guys, because how do we emerge with that expectation? And then we become adults and we feel insecure in all ways. We don't feel taken care of. You accepted the loving care of your parents, food, shelter, guidance without question. You not only accepted, but demanded in a loud, imperious voice the things that gave you emotional and physical comfort. You took your first steps in confidence and the loving hand that held you, and you were not too discouraged by the few bumps and tumbles. You smiled and expected a smile in return. Today, you walk to your work or drive or take the bus expecting to arrive at your destination in one piece. You accept a job expressing faith in your potential. You marry with faith in the one that you've chosen, and faith in the power, in your power to provide for your family. In other words, you have faith in yourself. And that is actually faith with God within you. You eat food prepared by countless hands that you never see, and wear clothes made by people you will never, ever know. You trust a taxi driver or Uber driver to take you to your destination, the barber to shave your face, and the cook to prepare your meals. How do you know that the taxi driver won't take you to some out of the way place and hold you up? Or that the barber won't cut your throat? Or that the cook will not poison your food? because of your faith in your fellow man. And that too is faith in the one God, who, according to St. Paul, is above all and through all and in you. 3 gifts are yours. 3. These are important. I highlighted them, so it's important. When a man walked out from God's finished thought, he bore 3 gifts. Number 1 was a life, which is energy and animation by which to live. Number 2 is a mind, the power to reason, select, understand, and know by which to become aware of God, of himself, quotation, himself, and his environment. And number 3 is faith. Trust, confidence, assurance by which to penetrate the invisible and to hold God's promises until they're realized in him and for him. What is faith? The St. James version of the Bible says, faith is the substance of all things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Moffat translates the words this way. Now faith means that we are confident of what we hoped for, convinced of what we cannot see. What comforting words, evidence, assurance, conviction, and substance. I want to repeat that part because I feel like that broke that down really simply. Faith means that we're confident in what we hoped for and convinced of what we don't see. Faith is the belief that you have the power to do all things. Faith is a magnetic power that attracts the answers to your prayer. Results do not come by chance, by accident, or by faith. They are molded by your faith in your power through God. Faith is the glass under the faucet. It is the water wheel under the fall. It is the windmill adjusted to the wind. It is the sunflower facing the sun. It is the ear at the telephone. Success reduced to its lowest and simplest form is faith expressed in action. Repeat that. That's actually good. I underline. Listen, it's good. Success. If you break success down to what success is, it is basically a result of your faith in action. It is expressed. So your success in something is your faith now expressed in the tangible physical form. Faith is a mental attitude against where there is no possibility of contradiction. If that attitude is directed towards God, it becomes your ability to do everything. Faith is a mental attitude against where there is no contradiction. You guys know I've been making videos about your stories and you pray for one thing and you're saying something else, or you're saying, oh, I'm manifesting, but I don't see it. And in your saying that, you are not walking in faith because you are speaking contradiction to what it is that you said you had faith for. Faith is a mental attitude where there is no possibility of contradiction. When you pray or treat, you have a right to expect an answer to that prayer treatment, providing your conviction is in line with the nature of God. Your mind, however, must be convinced of its idea. Your mind must completely accept it, that contradiction or denial is impossible. This is why I talk about the importance of the spiritual and the science. Because in order for you to not have any contradiction or denial, your subconscious has to believe it's possible for you. See, faith isn't just mental, it's science as well. It's your subconscious belief system. When you have absolute faith, there is nothing left in you to contradict your prayer or your treatment. Faith is the bridge. I don't know what it is about this book that gets me really excited. Faith is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual world. You have the privilege to cross it by will. I'll repeat that. Faith. You can imagine there are two different worlds. One is like land, it's 3D, it's all the tangible things. And on the other side is all the spiritual. And the only way to get there is this bridge. And the bridge to connect the two is the faith in which you have. And that thing that you said you want in the spiritual becoming a tangible physical thing. Faith not only makes old things new, but it is the point of contact between God and man. Faith is the point of contact. I made a comment on a live stream the other day, and I said, isn't it interesting how for whatever reason, the most religious people tend to be the people with the least faith, which is interesting because that is your point of contact with God, the God in you. But we'll get to that as we keep moving through the series. Faith is the means by which we identify ourselves with the allness of God. Through our faith, God fulfills his promises. Through our faith, his good becomes visible and usable. Desire is impressed upon the subconscious through feeling. Faith holds the idea of desire and substance until it takes form. Faith is the most dynamic and transforming force in man. Faith, your belief is the most dynamic and transforming force in man. To become mighty in the individual, faith needs only a chance to exercise itself. I say this all the time. Faith is a muscle. It starts with the small things, and you can, the more you see it in the small things, then you grow to a big thing. Some of you guys don't even have faith in finding a parking space in the front, but you want faith in like this miraculous way to do these big, huge things. Now, I said this in a live stream, a button, you can easily manifest a castle as it is a button to a castle. Abraham Hicks said that. The problem is your mind knows that the castle is bigger. If your mind thinks it's bigger than the button, then it's not the same. And that's the missing link. Faith is a muscle that needs exercise. As students of truth, we must work for the highest and most complete state of faith. For faith is the wire along which omnipotence move. Now, because of who I am, when I first read this, I was like, let me make sure I understand what the word omnipotence mean, because I think we hear it, but we don't always understand it. So I went on like the search of like the core meaning of the word. And the meaning of omnipotence is unlimited and great power. So when something is omnipotent, there is no limit to the power in which it holds. In that state, there is no longer anything in us to deny, doubt, or divide the truth that we affirm. We shall never perfect our faith, however, by talking about it, reading about it, waiting for it, or wishing for it. We perfect it by applying it to every phase of our life. I just told y'all this. To the little as well as the big. Faith is a muscle. You have to apply it to everything in your life consciously, knowing that, oh, I have absolute faith this is going to happen. And the more you consciously apply it to the small, the big becomes like, oh, I've seen this work in my life. I know this power. Some of y'all say, I know this power, but you on your knees begging for something. When you know the power, you know you ain't got to beg, you demand, command, it's there and done. We gonna get into that. I get a little excited. I get a little ahead of myself. Faith is not just stirring up of the imagination. Faith is an actual power on which acts upon our words. Your faith acts on your words. So you can't say you believe some of your words, say something completely different. Faith enables us to see things as God sees them without blur or distortion. This is my note. Often our current reality is the distortion, but the way God sees them is the way that it really is. What you're seeing with your 3D is the distortion very often. This is from a distorted belief that you were thinking yesterday. It's actually from the lack of faith. this is distortion. This like, see what it looked like, but baby, this is like a mirror trick. I don't know. You go into a carnival and you see something and you look a little wider, a little taller, a little shorter. That's a trick. This ain't real. Faith not only leads man into a definite course of action, but opens the way for the power to flow along uncongested circuits of thought. No longer hampered by doubts, fears, worries, man becomes, as Emerson says, the inlet and the outlet for all that there is in God. The highest faith is whole, contagious, triumphant, and victorious. It admits to no contradictory evidence, no fear, no opposition, no separation, no limitation. I'm gonna read that again, because see, some of y'all say, yeah, I got faith, and they ain't following that. The highest faith is whole, continuous, triumphant, victorious. It admits to no contrary evidence, no fear, no opposition, no separation, no limitation, because you don't have no limits. You ain't got no limits. Dominion. That's what you got. You have dominion. Hope says, y'all know I don't like the word hope. We say it out of habit, but I don't, when I catch myself, I'm like, no, I don't hope I know. Hope says that it could happen or it might happen. Faith says that it will happen. I hope you guys are taking notes. I pause and I have conversation with you, hopefully, so you'll realize these are light bulb moments. Don't be over here multitasking, washing dishes. This right here is a whole masterclass on faith, because I'm pausing and having the conversation with you. Like, I am teaching you from this book. I'll repeat that. Hope says it could happen or it might happen. Faith says, baby, I know this is going to happen. This is going to happen. No doubt. Faith is the moving force in all creative processes. It is the agent of healing, of prayer, and of demonstration. Faith is the power to accomplish all things through Christ. All things are yours, and ye are Christ, and Christ is God's. The man of faith experienced wholeness. Thy faith made thee whole, said Jesus to the woman who touched his garment in search of healing, to the blind beggar, and to the leper who returned to give glory to God. Faith is an individual power. Why did Jesus pinpoint thy faith? Why not the faith of someone better trained or better equipped spiritually than you recognize yourself to be? He was showing us that the whole process takes place within individual consciousness. Within my consciousness, if I'm seeking the rewards of faith, within your consciousness, if you wish to experience wholeness. So the question then asks, why do we ask for anyone else's help? Why do we have practitioners such as, myself or other people? When the evidence of the senses seem to overpower us, when we cannot see reality through the cloud of false evidence, when we are often impelled to seek the help of one whose vision is not obscured by our problem. But unless we meet the faith of the practitioner with 100% agreement, we are no better off than we were. Our faith is still essential. Let me tell y'all something real quick about this. This is why it's important when you pray what you see. Most people don't even know what prayer is. Prayer is every thought we think. Remember, I told you guys that. And so remember, on the live stream, somebody asked me to pray for them. And if you missed it, go watch how I pray. This is how you pray. You got to make sure that the people who touch and agree with you actually agreeing on what you really want. And sometimes I always tell people, borrow my faith, because I see you as whole. I see you as the person who thinks a thought and it manifests, because it always does, but think the thought that you want and it manifests. Sometimes we're asking people to pray for us who don't have the capacity to see the vision that's really there for us. One note, and then I'm gonna move on. I remember I was having a reading with somebody a few years ago, because I like just readings for the sake of getting reading sometimes. And I went and got a reading, and this man looked, and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna have an amazing year. I see you doing at least 6 figures." And I was like, "What?" this was maybe like my 4th, 5th year in business. And he was like, yeah, oh my God. And I was like, sir, if I do 6 figures, I'm gonna have to fire employees. I can't hire. What are you talking about? And then I remember people can, one person's idea of what success looked like is based upon their capacity. You need to know who touching and agreeing with you. You need to know who you are taking advice from. You need to know who you're taking wisdom from. You need to know who laying hands on you, whether it's proverbial hands like this. You need to know who you are allowing into your conscious and into your subconscious. Everybody who make a video on YouTube don't actually carry power. They repeat what they hear other people say, but look at their lives. Is your life a demonstration of faith, of manifestations, big ones and little ones? This is important. The answer precedes the problem. Do you remember the place in which Jesus could do mighty works because of their unbelief? Could healing not take place in Nazareth? The truth is that, quote unquote, the works are already done spiritually in the place that they are in all other places, but they have to await the recognition of the people concerned before they can become visible on the material plane. That means everything that you want. Now, y'all have heard me say this. And on a science level, this is very true. Everything exists in the quantum already. In the multiple quantum fields, everything you desire already exists. It is simply awaiting for your alignment for that thing. And then you will be moved and you will move out of the quantum field you're in. It's moving out of the field it's in, and you're going to connect in the world where things actually line up to the things that you actually desire. On a spiritual level, it's faith. So the work's already done spiritually, it says, but it has to await the recognition of you before it can become visible on the physical plane. Do you see now why faith makes you whole? Faith makes you whole because in reality, you're already whole. Your faith simply acts to reveal that which already is. The works come automatically to the heart of those who believe. We do not see the law of faith, but we know its power by what it does. Our task is fourfold. Number one, your task is to become aware of that which eternally is the omnipresence of God. Remember what omnipresence is? It's power. Unlimited power. Number two, to claim the good we desire through faith, recognition, and realization. Number three is to accept the desire as fulfilled. And number four is to realize our oneness with God. Don't y'all miss that. To realize your oneness with God. See, traditional religion has taught us that we are separate from God. And I think it's the biggest lie that's told, because traditional religion will tell you you're one with God and yet teach you that God is outside of you. But God is in you as you. We'll talk about that later. I feel like different things that I quote, like everything's in me as me because of the power that I hold. It was given to me, my birthright by my Father. Faith is the realization that all good is an instant manifestation. Listen to this. I'm going to repeat it again. This is good. Faith is the realization that all good is an instant manifestation. If our prayers are not answered, if our needs were not met before we prayed, there would be no point in praying. Jesus said, "Before ye call, I will answer, and while ye are speaking, I will hear." Whatever needs to be done is already done, and whatever need is already supplied. There is no life apart from God. There is no power apart from God. There is no substance apart from God. There is no health apart from God. There is no being apart from God. There is only one mind, one life, one power, substance, and love in which we live and move and have our being. Remember, I told y'all, if you have a problem with the word God, this is going to be problematic, but You want to stick with me, because if you grew up in traditional church, this book is going to be triggering. But for most of you, you're going to feel the truth and like, I knew none of this. When we get the realization of this truth, the whole outer world changes. When you get the realization, I'll say it again, there is no being that's apart from God. There's no separation between being and God. There's only one mind, life, power, substance, and love in which we live and move and have our being. When we get the realization of this truth, the whole outer world changes. Discordant factors are harmonized, problems are solved, difficult tasks are made easier, diseases are healed. The tenor of our lives become harmonious. Faith acts on the level of our consciousness. What are you conscious of? What are you conscious of? Life is a state of consciousness. Nothing can come to us except as consciousness. Consciousness is all that we are, all that we're aware of, and all that we believe. So if you're not conscious of being a thing, having a thing, existing as a thing, you never can have it. You have to be the thing. You have to. You literally have to become the thing. We add to consciousness or take away from consciousness with every experience. The level of our consciousness determines our faith, and that level of faith is our own making. Faith is the starting point of every affirmation, prayer, and treatment, but without recognition of it as evidence of the Father within, without acceptance of the closeness of our relationship to the Father, without acceptance of the promises, without realizations of the omnipresence of God within us, is likely to end as wishful thinking, daydreaming, or a mere desire. Don't y'all miss that. You got to know the power is in you. As you rise in consciousness to the awareness of your oneness with God, you will discover that there is no place for negation. It is not person, place, or thing. Therefore, it has no reason for being. Disease is a negative faith operating through man, but it isn't the man and therefore doesn't belong to him. This is why you must separate yourself from the belief, from the believer in your own mind. If evil had as much power as good, the universe could not exist. According to Jesus, you must empty the mind before you reach a heavenly state. He that loses his life finds it. I talk a lot about death and dying to who you are today. People think of death as like a bad. I'm like, no, for you to become someone new, that old you has to die, that old you, your old belief system. You're going to have to rid yourself of what you thought it was true. You have to stay that person to become somebody new. The choice is yours. He that loseth his life finds it. When you lose your sense of personal power, the God power awaits your use. If God is, he is all there is, and all things are possible to you because of your faith or conscious oneness with him. That word oneness. Now, don't tell the world how wonderful it is until you proved it yourself. Faith without works is dead. The primary purpose of spiritual therapy is not to make unhappy people happy or sick people well or poor people rich. It is not to solve problems or establish better and healthier living conditions. These are simply the results. The primary objective is to help people realize their own presence with God, to become acquainted with God, and to become self-empowered. Eliphaz told Job in the midst of his suffering, acquaint thyself with, quote unquote, him, God, and be at peace. Thereby good things shall come unto thee. Most Christians To most Christians, God is a name rather than the warm, living presence in you. I put a note so I could remember that the tangible results of my life, I'm so blessed. The God in me, my higher self, whew, every time I step into my God power and I recognize that power, the divinity that's given to me, life changes. And I put a note and said the tangible results and outcomes I receive are simply proof of God's presence in and around me. Christians talk about him, sing about him, read about him, preach about him, and pray to him, but very few of us take the time or trouble to really get acquainted. How then can we know him as a very present help in trouble? When will we learn that faith cannot lift us any higher or take us any further than the level of consciousness we function on? So you can say you have faith for like these big, huge things if you're consciously not operating there. They go hand in hand. It cannot take out of consciousness something that's not already there, or that it cannot give us something that is not already given. If I want to know about electricity, how to use it, how to direct it, how to associate myself, I have to associate myself with electricians who are expert with dynamos, motors, copper wires, switches, and transformers. Through them, I come to the realization of electricity. If I want to know about music, I associate myself with outstanding musicians, musical instruments, compositions. Through them, I come to the realization of music. If I want to know about painting and how to paint, I engage with the best teacher I can find. I associate myself with artists, with paintbrushes, with canvas. I study the masterpieces of the world, and through all these, I come to the realization of painting. If I want to get acquainted with you, I must identify myself with you. I must associate with you, be in companionship with you. I must give you my thought and time. I must study your mind and your nature. If I'm to understand you, I must know all about you. I must surrender to you. Then how does one get acquainted with God? How does one get to know God? Only by practicing God's presence. God must become to us a living, pulsating presence. God must become as real as our friends or the members of our family are to us. We must know him. Side note, in this book, him is in quotation, mainly because the book speaks of God as in us, as us. So him, her, right? We must know him, not as a cold, lifeless name, not as a vague and misty personality, but an actual living partner. The first function of faith is to make God real, to make him as real to us as he was to Jesus, John, and Paul. Where is God, you may ask? Within every last one of us. Not within us in the sense that he's within our body, our solar plexus, or our brain, but in our consciousness. I and the Father are one. When you realize that God is not in the place and you in another, when you understand your oneness with him, and you can say and believe that I and the Father are one, your word will accomplish that unto when it was sent, according to the promise. It's actually my favorite scripture. I'll repeat that. When you realize that God is not in one place and you in another, when you realize your oneness with God and can say and believe that I and the Father are one, your word will accomplish that whereunto it's sent, according to the promise. When you believe that your desire is already fulfilled, believe that you are asking for what is already yours, you have put your faith to work, and what you see is manifested in your experience. I don't know if you guys are noticing, but faith talk is dominion talk. I talk a lot about having dominion, and it's January 22 and dominion. I tend to not pick words for the year, but I am well aware of my dominion, my omnipresence. I have dominion because of the God within my consciousness. You have the word of Jesus that this is so. For Jesus said, whatsoever things ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. There is nothing on earth you cannot have. There is nothing you cannot heal. I underline that. That's so powerful. The next few lines are too, but I wrote that down. I think I put that as like affirmations to remind myself. There is nothing on earth. I said it as it's me. So I read it to you. Now I'm saying it's me. There is nothing on earth that I cannot have. There is nothing on earth that I cannot heal. There is nothing I cannot be if I have faith enough to accept the fact that what I'm seeking is already mine. The fact that you can visualize a changed condition is the spiritual reality of it. By your faith in God, with whom all things are possible, the desired condition materializes. I can of my own do nothing. It's the Father that dwelleth in me that does the work. He that believeth on me, the works that shall I do, all things are delivered unto me of my Father. In this oneness, all things are yours. The ears of the deaf are unstopped, and the blind eyes are open. Diseases are healed, not by using the spiritual to heal the physical, not by using the power to force others to conform to your way of thinking, not by the application of brute force, but by the uncovering of the perfection that's already there. For way too long have we put God in one place and man in another. For too long have we kept apart that which God has joined together. Marriage. You know, one of the things I love about Neville, you guys know I study Neville, but my channel is not like a Neville channel. I'll bring up certain things about him. But one of the things that I do love is that he believes the Bible is an allegory, a story. I do as well, and a story about the way we live. And it's interesting because when you start to see it that way, when you read biblical passage or from any holy text, you begin to see the story and how it applies to us. And everything is not like face value. Where's the spiritual meaning behind it? For too long have we kept apart that which God has joined, the marriage of man and God. Do you understand who you are? Who's reading these lines? Let me change that since you're listening. Do you understand who you are who's listening to me read these lines? You do not have to acquire anything, buy anything, or create anything. You only have to accept your oneness with him through faith. Believe thou not, I am in the Father and the Father in me. I and the Father are one. The Father that dwell in me, he is the one who doeth the work. Could there be a stronger statement of oneness or integration? God is all life. God is your life. God is mind. God is your mind, and God is power. He's your power. Why is the consciousness of oneness so necessary to perfect outworkings of faith? Because it supplies the inner forces of faith. It acts as a magnet to draw to itself everything it needs for expression. Solomon said, with all thy getting, get understanding. Without this inner force, the consciousness of the allness of God and the oneness of him, faith is partial, limited, and incomplete. It becomes what some teachers refers to as blind faith, in contrast to understanding faith. Did you ever try to demonstrate over a problem while keeping your attention on the problem? Yeah, I'll do it all the time. We go fix that over here. That's what I'm here to help you out. Yeah. Did you ever try to demonstrate over a problem, which means did you ever try to solve a problem while keeping your attention on the problem to what happened? You still had the problem, but in a magnified form. How big is big? Jesus' one and only formula for meeting trouble was to have faith in God. That's it. With faith, you can solve the apparently irreducible problems and remove the presumably insurmountable obstacles in your life. You can dominate every circumstance. You can open every door. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is, the condition or the problem. If ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, move. Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Jesus likened human problems and troubles to mountains, but he says that if you have faith, you can remove these problems, these mountains. Faith can cause mountains to be swallowed up and lost out of sight forever. All your sickness and all your troubles can be reversed when you have radical belief in God and an unqualified and unquestionable acceptance of the fulfillment of your desires. I have a friend right now who's sick, and I don't do a lot of calling like, oh girl, how you doing? And blah, 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 blah. Because baby, if you well, I have faith. We're not gonna keep doing this. So like in her mind, she's like, I'm sick, and you know, people don't check on me. And it's like, girl, you ain't sick, ain't shit wrong with you. Oh. Because me having faith for you is nothing if you don't have faith for yourself. So if I see you as well and you see you as sick, your view of you is definitely going to stomp out my view of you. But you must trust your faith in the same way that airborne infantry trusts the parachute that brings him to the earth. If ye faith as the grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible. Jesus did not say that fulfillment depended on argument, reason, theology, logic, or a particular concept of God beyond simply faith. Faith inside of a mustard seed is not a lot of faith, but note the power that was assigned to it. Of course, the mustard seed has an amazing potential for growth. So does small faith that you plant in a subjective mind if you tend to it. We was just talking about gardening, y'all. You got to tend to this garden. Listen, perhaps the faith you have now is just enough faith to let you try faith. Tend to the seed with love and confidence. Water it with persistency and tenacity. Shelter the tiny growth from the cold winds and negative thought. Visualize the effect in your life of faith in action. See yourself using faith. See yourself living faith. See yourself expressing faith. Accept the promises made to those who believe is made to you personally. Know that any desire you hold in faith is a reality already in spirit, existing from the moment you conceived it and eagerly awaiting its manifestation in life. One of my favorite sayings to my clients is, it's already there, you just don't see it yet. One of my old clients she actually gave me that, and I was like, oh, that's good, because she uses it in her work. And I'm like, oh, that's good, because it's true. It's already there. You just don't see it yet. Put your faith to the test, exercise it, grow it. Why did Jesus use the mustard seed as a symbol of faith? To show the infinite power of even a little faith. The mustard seed is not only one of the smallest seeds, but is one of the most powerful and productive of creative things. And so it is with just a little bit of faith. With Jesus, the lesser faith is always the promise of greater faith. It doesn't matter how small your faith is, if you believe in it, if you have faith in it, if you keep it alive, if you keep it in motion, it has to grow. So when you guys tell me you've been manifesting for years, it's like, no, you hadn't. You don't even have a little faith, because years, oh, you would have demonstrated 1,000,000 times. We don't know what faith is, and that's why this series is so very important. Never allow yourself to minimize your mustard seed of faith. Never allow yourself to think of your faith as inadequate. Know that you have it and you couldn't lose it if you wanted to. Praise the mustard seed. Grow the mustard seed. It will do wonders for you. Nothing shall be impossible. Let's think of it this way. In the mustard seed stage, my faith is like a little candle in the mind. It gives forth a certain amount of light, but it's governed by impersonal law. It works the way I use it. If it works slowly for me at first, it's because my expectation and mental equivalents are small. I need to step it up then. I know that a little steam will lift the lid of a tea kettle, but a lot of steam will lift it tons. The law of faith is just that simple. With what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. The manifestation of my faith is not measured by the size of my faith, but by the acceptance, belief, and mental equivalent of it that I hold. So it doesn't matter if it's a small mustard seed. It's about the belief in the thing. That's it. It's just like the thing is what, but if it's just a little faith, at least you got some faith, right? It's the doubt you have to rid of. If I want a 500 candle power light, I must have a 500 watt globe. If I want a good measure pressing down and shaking together and running over, I must present a large measure. Thousands of people go every year to the shrines and blessed pools, believing that they have some kind of magic power to heal. Hundreds who have faith are healed with contact with these places, but thousands return unhealed because they don't have the necessary faith. The law of faith. According to your faith in God, your faith in yourself, your faith in your goal, your faith in your ability, you get results. The man of little faith gets small results, and the man of big faith gets large results. According to your faith, be it unto you. That is just like saying that a gallon jug will only hold a gallon of water. You can never go beyond the realization of your mental equivalence. So if mentally you don't see it for yourself, believe it for yourself, feel it for yourself, you won't have it. We shall never experience a good beyond which our capacity to receive. This whole problem of belief and realization is just like using the muscles. Today, we can lift 20 pounds. Tomorrow, we can lift 25. But there is no limitation to our capacity for spiritual growth. We always express what we are. As much goodness as we can accept, that's what we can demonstrate. Sickness doesn't have to be, but until we know it doesn't have to be, it will be. When we know that limitation doesn't have to be, there's nothing to be limited. All that I have is thine. Are you a beggar sitting on a bag of gold? Are you slumbered in the brink of infinite power? Behold, you stand this day at the entrance of the land of tremendous possibilities. That's what I tell you guys. Literally, you're like, please, how I have a video talking about manifesting money. And I talk about the person that came up and people are like, where's Victoria? How can I find her? Baby, you're a beggar sitting on a bag of gold. I didn't manifest Victoria because I was looking for anyone to give me anything. I knew the power was within me. I didn't know how it was going to come, but I knew it was coming because I had faith. It's different from saying, where's my Victoria? You'll never get a Victoria because you're looking to be a beggar as opposed to understanding your power. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. This is all yours if you have the faith to accept it. If you believe that you already have it, if you let it manifest as you, that's when I start writing like God is in me as me, wealth is in me as me, love is in there in me as me. Like I really had to become one with everything I desire is in me as me. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. When is he near? When you accept your oneness with him, when you know that you have no mind, life, substance, or power apart from him. So as long as you think that God is this, mysterious being that's external, your power will always be limited because you haven't accepted the oneness of the power that's in you. What a light would come into our eyes, what invisible power, that's not what they said. What a light would come into our lives, what invisible power would come into our minds, what a cleansing of the soul and body would result if we made use of the inner force of faith. New wine, Jesus called it, wine that burst out wine skins of limited patterns and demands a new consciousness to hold it. We don't need new faith or more faith to be transformed. We only need to renew our faith in the faith we already have. Come, my friend, make your contact with God through faith. So I want to pause for a minute when it says we only need to renew our faith in the faith we already have. Here's the thing, we all have faith. Some of you believe more in your limitations than your power. Some of you believe more in your physical 3D experience than the spiritual that's already taken place. Some of you believe more in your lack than in your abundance. And that's clear by what you choose to think about all day, by how you're not training your brain, by how you're telling the same story over and over, how you get mad with me when I say shut up, quit telling that story. You believe more in the story than the truth. The way of attainment is wonderfully simple and accurate. It is not the way of the conscious mind of human thinking or the way of teachers. It is the way of spirit. I am that I am. I am the way. In all thy ways, acknowledge him. In all thy ways, acknowledge his presence, and it will guide you into all truth. In him we live and move and have our being. Can God be any closer to us than the consciousness of omnipresent good? Can God be any closer than here? Then rest from your anxious labors, release your tensions and your fears. What are you scared of? If you believe you and God are one, and if you believe in God's power, then you have nothing to fear. You only fear because you don't really believe in your God power. In the consciousness of your oneness is your salvation. When you pass from belief to realization, when you live and move and have your being in omnipresent good lives and moves in you. How much longer are you going to wait before you release this tremendous power within yourself? Have faith in God. Now, I'm going to do this last little bit, and then we're going to finish up part 1. And it's ways to strengthen your faith. There are 21 ways to strengthen your faith. Number 1, be expectant, confident, and optimistic. Number 2, your enthusiasm. Keep your enthusiasm strong. Never allow yourself to be discouraged or depressed. Number 3, charge your mind with interest, enthusiasm, and ambition. Number 4, keep your ambition and aspiration high. Cultivate patience and perseverance. Number 5, keep your imagination centered in what you want and keep your faith moving towards it. Number 6, keep your consciousness expanding, growing, and moving to higher levels. Number 7, be positive in your thought, feeling, and actions. Number 8, accentuate the positive in every situation. Never allow yourself to dwell upon misery, sickness, operations, symptoms, reverses, misfortunes, or bad luck. Number 9, never deprecate, criticize, minimize, or speak disparagingly of yourself, let me add, or anyone else. Never dwell upon your mistakes. Think always of yourself as growing, expanding, and becoming more efficient and resourceful and dynamic. Number 10, look for good in everything and everyone. Refuse to recognize anything but good. Good all exists for you. Number 11, seek the best of everything and know that your mind will produce it. 12, think in large terms. The more you expect, the more your faith will bring to you. 13, convince your mind that what you seek is already there, that it's yours now. 14, train your mind to think in terms of abundance. Never allow it to dwell upon lack or limitation. 15, stimulate your faculties and talents by increasing your demands upon them, meaning accept more from yourself in the gifts that you have. Number 16, when you meet trouble of any kind, refuse to be worried or disturbed by it. Know that you are bigger than any adverse thing that happens to you and have the power to overcome it. 17, meet the problem with conviction that is already solved. See it as an opportunity to prove God. Number 18, face every difficulty with courage, strength, and fortitude, determined to turn it into good. 19, know that you have the power to adjust anything, change anything, correct anything, overcome anything, or subdue anything. 20, act always with the truth. Never allow yourself to compromise with evil. If the truth is to make you free, you must rely upon it. You must pass from belief to trust. So here, people think of evil as like, something out there. But if What your 3D reality is not what you desire. That's the evil. Your truth is the spiritual. That faith is getting you from the 3D physical to that spiritual. Okay. And last but not least, believe the unbelievable. God goes all out for you when you go all out for God. This last section on like how to grow your faith is really a lot about what I tell you, your input and output, what you're taking in, what you're thinking about, training your brain. Go through my videos. I don't have that many. It's like 25, 26 videos. Go through my videos. If you have to go through more than once, go through them more than once. I've recommended books that's amazing, specifically around like money specifically, but also other books that's just good around faith and really believing in yourself and the God in you. And some of you, accepting that God lives in you as you is going to be the hardest part of this, because it's contradictory to what we're taught, but it's not contradictory to what's in holy text. We've just been programmed to believe something else. But in the holy text, God and I are one. Right? On part 2, we are going to talk about, so we just finished up, what is faith? Part 2, we're going to talk about how faith works. In the podcast, I didn't do these other parts. So in part 2, we are going to talk about how faith works. How faith works might be broken up into 2 sections. We'll see what my day looks like, if I can get it all recorded or not. But we're going to go into how faith works. I would love to hear from you. If you're enjoying this thus far, I would love to hear down below. I can tell you that manifestation and faith is the same. Science is just catching up to the spiritual. People who are in church, they're like, oh my God, manifestation, but baby, it ain't nothing but faith. The problem is most people in religious circles don't really have faith. You can't, because you think God is out there instead of in here. And when you come to the understanding that you and God are one, and that means that if God is living, breathing, existing in you, in your consciousness, that means that if God can make a mountain move, so can you. That means that's why I said every thought you think is a prayer. When you think it, you are literally pulling it to you. Now that's on the spiritual side. On the science side, it's literally you begin to think it and your subconscious begins to pick it up, and then it goes out and the particles begin to move and create out in the quantum in order for you guys to meet each other. Things literally it's like a magnet. You two are pulled together. The science and the faith. I love that it's finally catching up, but it's important you understand what the faith is, because most of the comments you leave, most of the conversation I have, all break down to you don't have faith. You think you do. You have hope. But when we get to the point of, oh my God, I'm about to lose, these desperate places, you are completely separated from the God that exists within you. And so you have to start practicing that, because it's a lot of unlearning that has to take place. And in that unlearning comes a new subconscious belief. If all your life you've believed you're here and it's there, and then you're waiting for someone to come save you, when God is already in you and your consciousness is here to save you, you can manifest anything with faith, understanding the power and the presence in you, understanding you have dominion, saying it so, and moving on because you have faith. Hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear any thought, feedback you have. If you like these sorts of series, and when I finish this book, maybe we'll do more. Maybe the others I won't read. We'll just do updates, but I know a lot of you did not get the book. And so I want to read the book, and you guys know I love repetition myself. And so I've read this book a gazillion times, and reading it an additional time only helps remind me of how freaking powerful I am. Go off, be great. Happy 10,000 subscribers to this channel. Our community is growing. If you're seeing this video, this means we're at 10,000 subscribers. And I'm so grateful for every last one of you who have found us. We have grown really fast. Heck, 9,000 of you came in the last 28 days. So grateful for each of you. Here is to more and more and more growth. Bye.